What's your I did not see that one coming story? My neighbor Gary had lived next door for 12 years. He was the most boring guy you'd ever meet. Worked at the post office, drove a tan Honda, wore the same 3 shirts on rotation. Every morning at 6 a.m., I'd see him leave for work. Every evening at 5:30 p.m., he'd come home, he'd wave, I'd wave back. That was it. His house was perfectly average. Beige paint, small lawn, one of those wooden ducks by the mailbox that every retirement age person seems to own. Gary never had visitors, never threw parties, never made noise. The perfect neighbor, honestly. Then one Tuesday morning, 3 black SUVs pulled up to his house. Men in suits started carrying boxes out. Gary came outside in handcuffs. I was getting my mail and just stood there frozen. What the hell? My wife came running out. Is that Gary? What's happening? We weren't the only ones watching. The whole street was outside. Mrs. Palmer from 2 houses down was recording on her phone. They put Gary in one of the SUVs and drove off. The men in suits kept loading boxes for another hour. That night, it was all over the local news. Gary's real name was Richard. He'd been in witness protection for 11 years. Apparently, he'd testified against some massive crime family back in Chicago, helped put away like 15 guys. The feds relocated him to our boring suburb and gave him a new identity. But here's the crazy part. Someone from that crime family had finally tracked him down. They'd sent people to our neighborhood last week asking questions. The feds found out and had to move Gary again. Emergency extraction. That's why it looked so dramatic. My wife and I sat on the couch watching the news in complete shock. Gary? Our Gary? The guy who wore socks with sandals and brought in our trash cans when we were on vacation? The news showed old footage from the trial. Gary, or Richard, whatever his name was, sitting in a courtroom describing murders, explaining how money got laundered, pointing at dangerous people and saying, "That's him, I saw him do it." This man had witnessed actual crimes, had his life threatened, had to leave behind everyone he knew and start over with nothing, and he chose to live next to us, in the most average house, living the most average life. But then I started remembering little things that suddenly made sense, like how Gary never accepted our invitations to barbecues, always said he had plans, but we never saw him go anywhere, or how he never talked about his past. Anytime someone asked where he was from, he'd change the subject really fast. Or that time my son's ball went into his backyard and Gary got super nervous when we came to get it, like he didn't want anyone near his house. I'd always thought he was just antisocial. Turns out he was trying to stay alive. The weirdest part was his car. That boring tan Honda. The news said it was bulletproof, custom built, cost more than my entire house. Gary had been driving a tank disguised as the most forgettable car in America. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, just my name handwritten on the envelope. Inside was a short note, Gary's handwriting. I recognized it from the birthday card he'd given my son 3 years ago. The note said, "Thanks for being a good neighbor. Sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. You made those 11 years feel almost normal. Take care of your family." At the bottom, he'd written, "The duck by my mailbox is yours now if you want it." I walked over to his house the next day. The for sale sign was already up. The yard was empty. No car in the driveway, no wooden duck. But taped to the inside of the mailbox was another note. "The duck's in your garage. Put it there last Tuesday morning before they came. Didn't want those guys taking it." I checked my garage. There it was. That stupid wooden duck sitting on my workbench. My wife wanted to throw it away. Said it was creepy. But I put it in our front yard right next to the mailbox. Every time I see it now, I think about Gary. Wonder where he is. If he's living next to some other clueless family who thinks he's just a boring guy with a boring job. If he's safe. 3 months later, my son was playing in the backyard and found something buried under the old tree near the fence. A metal box wrapped in plastic. Inside was $10,000 cash and another note for the college fund. Gary. My wife wanted to call the police, turn in the money, do the right thing. But I thought about Gary watching his back for 11 years, living in fear every single day, never able to be himself. I put the money in a savings account for my son. Didn't tell anyone where it came from. Sometimes the most interesting people are the ones who seem the most boring, and sometimes your neighbor isn't who you think they are.